Today I'm cutting in half some of the more weird boots I've come across, the Pampa Hi's by Palladium. And these boots are so simple and basic, this is probably gonna be the shortest cut in half video I've ever done, but these have a really unique backstory to them and a history behind Palladium. So let's quickly go over the history of Palladium and where they came from. So Palladium was originally an aircraft tire manufacturer during World War II. But after World War II, the demand for tires went down and they did what all good businesses do. They pivoted, and being a tire manufacturer and having lots of rubber and canvas floating around for tire manufacturing, they decided to pivot into footwear. And that's when they started making their first boots, the Pampa Hi's, that eventually got adopted by the French Foreign Legion as their go-to boot. And they've kind of just been a popular boot ever since. So kind of interesting backstory. Now to the information on these boots. So the brand is Palladium. The model is the Pampa Hi. The color is vetiver and gum, if that's how you say it. Vetiver. These are manufactured in China. They sell for $75. And one really interesting thing about these is they only weigh 14.5 ounces per boot, which is super light. So now let's go through what we know about these boots before we cut them in half. The upper of this boot is made of 2 layers of canvas. The outer layer is a 14-ounce canvas. The inner layer is a 6-ounce canvas. And the reason they do 2 layers is it adds a little bit of strength, but also it gives you an opportunity to put a less abrasive canvas on the inside. So if you're wearing these without socks or low socks, it doesn't eat up your ankle. The insert is an EVA foam insert, pretty simple, just has a little layer of canvas on top, and then it has these little side flanges that I'm not really sure what these are actually for. They don't add any structure. So if you know what these are for, let me know. And then the outsole is a vulcanized rubber outsole that I believe is one solid piece with a cemented construction. I don't see any stitches on here, and I also don't see any seams. So I think it's just a solid piece of vulcanized rubber. So that's most of the boot already, but let's cut it in half to see kind of what the counter material is and if there's a midsole and what else is in here. Okay, we've got it cut in half, so let's see what's inside. So this thing is just about as simple as I expected, but there's some pretty alarming things in here if you're wanting to wear these as a boot. So let's go through all the different layers, starting with the outsole, working up. So we've got the vulcanized rubber outsole, which from the outside looks like it's a really heavy, thick outsole, which it is at the high spots, but at the low spots, it's probably the thinnest outsole we've seen. So if we take a measurement of the low spots on here, they're about 1.2 millimeters thick. So that's really thin. It's, you know, even on the ones that aren't cut in half, you can feel how thin that is. If you're planning on using these for hiking, you step on a rock the wrong way and that's gonna split your outsole. Outsole, that came out kind of crooked in my mouth. Okay, now let's go to the midsole. So the midsole is just a really thin foam. It's just a cheap foam. You've also got a little block of foam in the heel. It also doesn't have a shank, but I don't think it needs one because of these little lugs that give you the arch support. Above that, you've got the insole, which is a matted material with a layer of reinforcement on top. And then we go to the insole, which is the EVA foam. It does have a counter. It's a fiberboard counter, and then the canvas upper, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So this boot is really confusing, and it is strange because it's not a work boot, it's not a hiking boot, but it's also not a shoe. You know, it's built like a boot, or it looks like a boot. So I think what people use these for is if you're wanting that combat boot look, but you're not wanting the heavy and sweaty combat boot. You know, it's kind of like if a Converse and a boot made a baby, you would have the Palladiums. You know, it's a cheap boot, cheaply constructed out of cheap materials, but it's a cheap price. And if you're wanting these for a streetwear type boot, I think you'll be happy with them because in the high spots of the soles, there is a lot of tread that you'd have to wear through before you'd start wearing out the low spots. But if you want them for anything but walking around the streets or in your office or at your home or whatever, I think you'll be a little disappointed in these. I kind of love how simple they are. I kind of love how lightweight they are, and I like the look of them. So let me know what you guys think. Shortest video ever. Have you had any experience with these? Have you ever blown through? Has this ever cracked? Have you ever stepped on a rock wrong and pierced through it? Let me know. And thanks for everything you guys do. See ya.